Welcome back to Builds Not Projects. My name's Spencer.
I'm Devin, and I'll be the new guy behind the camera so we can get you guys better quality content and more videos more consistently.
Alright, so all of the suspension stuff's welded on now, good enough to test. I want to put these wheels and tires, robbed these off of my little brother's four-wheeler for now to do some test fitting, and that way we can set it down on some tires and see how the ride height and everything is. Make sure I don't need to adjust this upper bracket or anything. So well, looks like it's time to redesign the rear end. Okay, so it's sitting back on all four wheels. It's kind of cool to see. The eyeball alignment actually turned out pretty good. This side has a little more negative camber than this side does, but it'll be good enough. It's not a precise automobile. So we'll move on to building the steering next. I'll explain that a little bit. What I'm going to be doing is using these Toyota timing belt bearings because they're readily available at work. And I'm going to be using these to create a pivot for a tie rod end to come in because I have to run the steering linkage off of the column up instead of down, so it's going to make all the steering backwards. So then I'd be turning right and going left. So I got to build a pivot here to change that around, so when I turn right, it pulls the tire the correct direction to go to the right. So that's what I'm going to be working on now, building these little pivots. Just build a little bracket, bolt them on, build another little bracket for both sides. So these brackets are both made for both sides. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just weld these right to the bearing. It may not be the greatest way to do it, but that's how I'm going to do it. I've made the one side with just the one hole, and then this side over here I have 3 holes so I can adjust it. It'll give me more adjustment of tire angle, and 2, it'll give me adjustment of how hard or soft it is to turn. So we'll get these things welded on. I'm going to just weld this bolt directly to the bracket to space it up high enough for the bearing. And then I'll just put a nut in there. And then we'll be good to go. We can start building the tie rods.
Had to take a quick trip to the scrapyard to grab some tie rod ends.
So these are the 2 tie rods off the front of that parts four-wheeler. I'm gonna end up cutting these down to build 2 short little tie rods to go in between here and here, and then that'll be it. All right, so the first try, the steering is done. Not all the tie rod ends are tightened up yet, so there's a little slop, but it steers the direction it should. It's a little stiff to turn, but there's some adjustment in those 3 holes, so we've got it on the hardest hole to turn, so we'll move it in one and see how it is there. We also got to adjust the front springs a little bit. It needs to be just a touch higher. We've got all the front brake parts that showed up. I've got 2 new front calipers, both of those. So those will go on. Those ones came with pads. There will be a link in the description to all these parts. These all just fit the that Honda 400 EX that we robbed the suspension off of. Steel braided brake lines. These are 2 inches longer than factory. Just to give me some extra room to get to the master cylinder. And then these right here are new master cylinders. Those fit the 600 Katana that I pulled the motor out of. Those are just rear brake master cylinders. So I'm going to just use those to those lines to the calipers. Alright, so what I'm doing now is doing this the brake pedal mount. I'm going to be mounting it on the right side this time instead of in the middle. That way, if I decide I want to do a foot clutch, I still have room over here to put a clutch pedal in. So I'm just going to build another tube to go in between here. We'll get it welded in, and then I'll build brackets to mount the master cylinders. So all the brake stuff is done and all mounted on here. We ended up having to put the master cylinders up on the top, up in this area, because down below there just wasn't enough ground clearance, and I was worried about ripping them off or having to really eliminate like 2 inches of ground clearance, which I didn't want to do. So up here you don't get as much pedal travel, but I'm going to be changing this pedal around anyways in the future, make it a little taller, so I'll gain a little more pedal feel back. Other than that, all the brake stuff's done now. Steering, it still needs to be adjusted a little bit, which once I start driving it around a little more, I'll kind of know what I need to adjust to get the steering how I want it to be. Thanks for watching this video, guys. Please hit the like and subscribe button if you already haven't. It really helps out the channel. And comment down below, let us know how you thought Devin did on this video. Stay tuned for next week's video. We're going to be getting the cage finished up and hopefully getting a good test drive with the new suspension.